So looking at our own country, of course, there is anti-Semitism here. And very sadly, there was an incident of anti-Semitism last week at a Jewish cemetery here in the United Kingdom, in Kent.
Yeah.
Now, this is being treated as a hate crime by police. That indicates that they're treating it not simply as a random act of vandalism, but as a targeted attack. A man has been arrested. No further information on that, except to say that this was a cemetery which was next to a Jewish cemetery that was adjacent to the synagogue. In fact, it is the oldest synagogue in England that has a cemetery adjacent to it. This is obviously it's terrible that such a thing should happen. It is the fifth act of vandalism against the synagogue in recent years. Sorry, I said it's the oldest. It's the only synagogue in Britain to have an attached cemetery.
Right.
This has made the community there feel very vulnerable. It says in this article, this was the Chatham Memorial Synagogue in Rochester. It said that the local community has been left appalled and deeply upset, and has left some of the small population of Jews in the surrounding area fearful of physical attacks. The synagogue has emphasised the fact that none of its congregation have been attacked, but has said that the site has been repeatedly singled out by vandals. The other thing, of course, is that this is a huge expense. These repeated attacks have cost the synagogue tens of thousands of pounds, and they've put security measures in like CCTVs, but even the CCTV cameras have been pulled off.
Really?
And so this seems to be an ongoing thing. So, how do we respond to this when we see acts of vandalism, targeting the Jewish people and Jewish sites? I think, first of all, we need to express our strong condemnation, and we certainly do that here at CUFI. We are appalled and hurting that a Jewish community here in England should suffer such a terrible attack. We also stand in solidarity, for those Jews that may feel vulnerable, because this might be an attack on, this is an attack on a cemetery, which is a sacred place. And it is an attack on the community as a whole. So we stand in solidarity, and I would encourage that anyone listening and watching, if you live in an area where there is a Jewish community, that you perhaps consider reaching out and demonstrating your support against anti-Semitism. But it is part of a much bigger issue, isn't it, when it comes to...
Yeah, unfortunately with anti-Semitism, I mean, going back to this one incident, the fact that it's been targeted repeatedly, I mean, this isn't just some random drunk guy who knocked over a tombstone sort of thing. This is someone who tried to burn the whole thing down. I mean, it was vandalised.
Well,
tombstones knocked over.
Yeah, it was knocked over, probably with a sledgehammer or something like that.
Yeah. And there was fire as well. Set as from what
was
I've seen.
it?
Well, from what I've seen, there's burnt tombstones on the image.
Okay.
And so so it's what I'm saying is it was a planned attack. It was trying to do a lot of damage. If they've taken cameras, like this was a sustained sort of campaign by someone to damage them and put fear into the community and things. So unfortunately, we are seeing this more and more. The reports at the moment are showing that this year alone, anti-Semitic incidents in the UK have gone up by 37%. And obviously we're not at the end of the year yet, so that could change. But right now, as at this point of the year, we're 37% up. And that equates to over 100 attacks or incidents per month in the UK alone.
Wow.
So if you think about that, that's more than 3 a day. And so this is just one of many incidents. There's a lot of incidents that are not really, they don't gain as much publicity as this one, because this one actually caught our attention because it was in news outlets and things. But unfortunately, this is an ongoing thing in the UK that's happening. And I think as well, a lot of it is spreading through social media. There's a lot of conspiracy theories out there, which we'll talk about a bit later on in the podcast. But yeah, it's sad really, because this is, we were talking before about how actually there is protection for all people of all faiths in this country. And yet, unfortunately, there is a growing level of hatred, especially against the Jewish people. And when you look at it statistically, because the Jewish people are only 250 to 300,000 people in the UK, they're a far smaller minority than, say, Muslims or Hindus or anything like that. They're far smaller, and yet they have more incidents than any other group. And so it's clear that it's, when you look at it by the level of the population and things, they are the most targeted group in the country. So if you're Jewish, you're more likely to have you're more likely to be on the receiving end of a hate crime than any other group. And that's just absurd. I mean, the Jewish, what have they even done? That's why I think there is a spiritual element to this, where, I've said it before, where Satan has stirred up the hearts of man against the Jewish people because God has blessed them and God has chosen them, to be his people. And so because of that, there is just this, relentless attack against the Jewish people that we've observed throughout history. It culminated with the Holocaust, but that is one of many incidents that have happened in the past. And unfortunately, anti-Semitism is rising and growing in this country. And, and there are people leaving Britain and other countries. I mean, it's growing in Germany, it's growing in France. There's other countries where there are bigger Jewish populations than here in the UK. And these sorts of incidents are causing people to rethink whether they should be staying in these countries. So it's very sad. But, on the whole, obviously, the UK is a very safe place for everybody, regardless of who you are. But it's very sad when you see this increase.
Certainly. Well, we are praying for Israel. We're praying for the Jewish people, and part of that includes praying against this attitude of anti-Semitism. And we stand with the Jewish people,